During the Cold War in 1962, there existed the Occam Aerospace Research Center, an underground government facility near Baltimore, Maryland. Alyssa Esposito, a mute lady, works as a cleaner there. She resides in a little flat directly above the theater. Every day is the same as the one before in Eliza's routine life. Alyssa has scars on her neck since she was a kid, and she's always wondered where they came from. One of Alyssa's closest pals is a middle-aged artist named Neighbor Giles. She is a kind and nice woman, so her other neighbors treat her rather well. She rides the bus to work, where she is met by Zelda Fuller, one of her favorite coworkers. Every time one of her coworkers tries to harass or bully Alyssa, she constantly defends her friend. They are both in charge of maintaining the cleanliness of the workplaces and other spaces. They have to visit all of the senior executives' offices and meeting spaces. During one of the work shifts, one of the supervisors informs that a new and highly precious object collected in South America has been delivered to the research center. A container of liquid is brought in, accompanied by Richard Strickland, the project manager. As Alyssa approaches the container, something from within hits it, attracting everyone's attention. Fearful, the janitor buddies leave the room and get to work. While cleaning the men's room, Alyssa and Zelda come upon Colonel Strickland, who is quite unpleasant. After a time, the cleaners hear a scream from the container room. Strickland appears in the corridor without 2 fingers on his left hand, compelling the guards to rush to his aid. The cleaners are told to get the blood out of the room as soon as possible. When Alyssa pours the water bucket onto the floor, Colonel Strickland's missing fingers appear. Alyssa carefully packs them into a bag and delivers them to the hospital. As she gets closer to the thing, she sees that it is an amphibian man. Enthralled by the creature, Alyssa returns to the chamber. The next day, she cautiously taps the container, but it appears to have relocated to a little pool. She approaches him as she is standing close by and offers him an egg. In the days that followed, Alyssa would slip in and feed him boiled eggs. She even teaches him sign language and uses a gramophone to play music for him. After meeting the amphibian man, she is more happier. At this point, Dr. Robert Hofstepler, a scientist who is a Russian spy named Dmitry Masenkov, notices Alyssa making a deep relationship with an amphibian creature. He tells his Soviet curators that the creature is intelligent and has the ability to communicate. The authorities of Hofstetler disregard this and order him to destroy the monster before the Americans may progress in their scientific studies. During one of Elise's encounters with the amphibian man, she witnesses him bound to a small platform and severely tortured by Strickland. Meanwhile, General Hoyt, Strickland's superior, wishes to withdraw the subject for further investigation into space technology. Strickland persuades Hoyt that they should do vivisection, which is a life-saving surgery on a living creature. Alyssa hears their talk and gets upset after hearing it. She then asks Giles to assist in rescuing the animal. She is certain that the amphibian man will perish if she does nothing. Alyssa persists, and Giles eventually agrees to assist her. A little later, Hofstetler has another meeting with his bosses. They give him syringes and vials of poisonous liquid to kill the amphibian man, and he is forced to comply. Meanwhile, Alyssa and Giles develop a strategy to escape the amphibian man. He used his artistic talents to create the writing on the truck and a false identification for himself at the lab. Alyssa attracts Strickland's attention. He purposefully spills his glass of water and makes the woman clean his office. He harasses Alyssa and she flees. Alyssa starts carrying out her plan by swiveling the security camera as Hofstetler is preparing poison. Hofstetler finds Elise's plan in Strickland's office and chooses to aid her. He then makes his way to the place of the subject. Hofstetler causes Elise to flinch. He also hands her the keys so she can free the amphibian man from his chain. When Zelda is in charge of the task, she notices Alyssa is up to something and decides to find her. The amphibian guy is silently pushed into a laundry cart by Alyssa, who then pulls it down the hallway as Giles drives to the designated spot. He tries to drive into the building, but he is unsuccessful. In the meantime, Zelda learns about Elise's plan. Hofstetler uses an explosive device to disable the electricity and injects the guard with poison using a syringe who had stopped Giles at the entry. The amphibious man is successfully loaded into the van, and they escape. Strickland and the guards hurried out the door at the same time but were unable to do it in time. This drives him insane and furious. Giles, Alyssa, and the amphibian man arrive safely at Alyssa's apartment. They submerge him in a tub of water and chemicals that Hofstetler brought along to take care of the strange creature. When it rains in a few days, Alyssa intends to release him into a nearby canal so that he may easily access the ocean. At the lab, Strickland and his group have already discovered the precise method by which the thieves were able to flee and steal their target. The following evening, Alyssa and Zelda show up at work, and Strickland questions them, but he doesn't believe they did it. He doubts the ability of two ladies, one of whom is mute, to carry out a high-security robbery at a government lab. At this point, Giles nods off inside the apartment. The amphibian man exits the bathtub through the ladder and devours one of the apartment's cats. After noticing Giles, he hurries out of the apartment, scratching the waking artist's arm. Eventually, an anxious Alyssa locates him in the theater down below and brings him back to the apartment. After returning, the amphibian man places his hands on Giles' head and wound. One night, Alyssa struggles to sleep. She goes into the bathroom to check on the amphibian man. She nervously takes her clothing off before entering the bathtub. Alyssa experiences a connection for the first time in her life. She is happy to have found a new sense of existence, and to have finally found the love she so sorely craved. Meanwhile, Hofstetler is at home, where he is visited by Russian bosses. Sensing danger, he conceals a knife up his sleeve, but nothing occurs, and they flee. One morning, Giles awakens to discover that hair has started to grow on his head. He wonders that the cut on his arm has fully recovered. Alyssa and the amphibian man start to get really close at this point. She even floods the bathroom so they can swim together. This causes a water leak throughout the house, and the theater owner complains about it. Giles was compelled to open the bathroom door. Back at the lab, General Hoyt warns Strickland that he must return their property to base within 36 hours, or his career and life will be gone. One morning when Alyssa gets home, she notices that the amphibian man is getting weaker by the day. Although she believes it is time for him to go, she is not prepared for their departure. Alyssa even fantasizes about a world where they may be together. In her fantasy world, music fills the air, she can sing, and the love of her life dances with her. In the meantime, one of his superiors shoots Hofstetler, but Strickland waits for the right opportunity and uses his gun to kill both of his superiors. Strickland torches our barely a life scientist to get information about the creature, and he finds out that it was the cleaners who managed to deceive him and free the amphibian man. He visits Zelda's home to interrogate both her and Brewster, her husband. Strickland starts behaving insanely because he wants to find the amphibian man so badly. Fearful, Zelda's husband admits that the thing is with Alyssa. Zelda scolds her husband before warning Alyssa over the phone. Anxious, Strickland departs with the intention of killing the cleaner. He comes too late and sees a calendar with the location of the amphibian man's release marked. Strickland rushes to the canal, knocks Giles down, and shoots the amphibian man and Alyssa as they accept their fate, holding hands. At this point, Giles manages to stand up and knock Strickland down. Suddenly, the amphibian man stands up and heals his bullet wounds. Strickland is astonished and refers to the amphibian man as a god, but the creature uses his claws to sever Strickland's throat. When the cops come, the amphibian man dives into the sea, carrying Alyssa in his arms. Zelda and Giles watch over them, quietly saying their goodbyes. The amphibian man kisses Alyssa and rubs the scars on her neck. Alyssa is healed by the aquatic creature, who also helps her start breathing through the never-scarred gills on her neck. They remain underwater in love, grateful for the opportunity to be together.